Thank you. Thank you very much. And good evening, and welcome to the musical legacy of the philosopher, the jurist, the master musician, Ostad Elahi, who during the early part of the 20th century to the mid 20th century enriched, refined, and refined the vernacular musical idiom of an instrument from a small community in the Kermanshah province of the northwestern part of Iran. This was the tanbūr, the long neck lute. I'm Ken Moore. I'm the curator emeritus of musical instruments, and in 2014, I had the fortunate opportunity to mount an exhibition called The Sacred Lute, The Art of Ostad Elahi, which documented the influences and experiences leading to the innovative musical and transformation, spiritual transformation of the great philosopher Nour Elahi. The exhibition featured many of his instruments and personal items, including his judicial robe, musical transcriptions, and the copies of his spiritual writings. Audiovisual elements brought to life not only the construction of the traditional tanbūr, but underscored the structural changes Elahi introduced, as well as his playing techniques, which utilized all 10 fingers, something very new. Innovations which have been adapted by contemporary musicians, both in the sacred and secular traditions. As scholar Jean During once noted, Elahi took the tanbūr music of his local tradition and turned it into the language of the soul, opening it to an unlimited space, an artistic achievement that was exactly parallel to Ostad's spiritual and philosophical journey. It is music that melds the oral with the spiritual. The museum is again fortunate to be able to display a few of Ostad Elahi's instruments in the newly renovated and reorganized permanent galleries. 5 of his instruments are on view. In Gallery 684, a single instrument is included in the famous musician's case, and it's accompanied by an audiovisual explanation. In Gallery 681, an additional 4 instruments in a standalone case augment the story of the child prodigy who revolutionized and revived this instrumental tradition. As the galleries continue to be tweaked and improved, we will soon, probably next week, add another music video to a nearby screen next to this dedicated exhibition. There's no time this evening to elaborate further on the life of Ostad Elahi, as we have a very full program, but I would remind you that tomorrow evening here at 6, there is a panel discussion, and also refer you to various online resources for more in-depth information, some of which has been prepared by this evening's sponsor, the Nour Foundation. I would like to thank Richard Ross, the program director of the Nour Foundation, for bringing this evening to fruition. Additionally, to members of the Elahi family, thank you for supporting the museum by bringing instruments to New York and their story to a wider audience. And last but not least, a thank you to Mariam Azarm, a visiting committee member for musical instruments, for her critical eye and her tireless advocacy on our behalf. Now it is time to have the pleasure to briefly introduce Dr. Ebby Elahi, Ostad Elahi's grandson and an avid musician and multi-instrumentalist himself. Dr. Elahi is clinical professor of ophthalmology and otolaryngology and public health at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. For the past 20 years, he has also served as Director of International Affairs at the Virtue Foundation, where he advocates for issues surrounding global health and has led multiple medical missions to underserved regions around the world, providing critical surgical care and training. Ebby began learning and playing the tanbūr at a very young age under the direct tutelage of his uncle, Dr. Shahrokh Elahi, who is a grandmaster of the tanbūr. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Ebby Elahi.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And on behalf of the entire Elahi family, I'd like to thank Ken Moore for his tireless efforts in putting together the past and present exhibitions, the Nour Foundation, the Department of Musical Instruments, and, of course, the Metropolitan Museum of Art for helping to introduce the singular music of my grandfather, Ostad Elahi, to a global audience. As we witnessed with the remarkable response to the Sacred Lute exhibition a few years ago, there is something profound and mesmerizing about Ostad's music that resonates with listeners. I personally had the privilege of being introduced to this music around the age of 5 by my uncle, Shahrokh Elahi, the principal legatee of Ostad's musical heritage and the grandmaster of the tanbūr. It was not until many years later as an adult that I gradually began to understand and appreciate the inextricable relationship between Ostad Elahi's music and his broader perspective on the meaning and purpose of our existence. In life as in music, Ostad was perpetually in pursuit of existential meaning and transcendence. From his standpoint, the reality and essence of human beings is characterized by their spiritual dimension or soul, and music constitutes its beautiful and universal language. Thus, in the hands of Ostad, it could be said that the tanbūr became an extension of the soul, a medium through which he could experience and express a range of ineffable states and emotions, from the yearning of the soul for its origin to the joy and ecstasy of contemplating its beloved. It is for this reason, I believe, that Ostad's music is imbued with such an exceptional impact and speaks to one's inner core. As was mentioned earlier, Ostad not only revived, but in many respects revolutionized the art of the tanbūr. To begin with, he transformed the physical properties of the instruments by adding a third string, in effect, doubling the main string. In doing so, he significantly expanded the technical possibilities and the range of the instrument. In addition, he standardized the dimensions of the instruments for optimal sound. I will, if you allow me, demonstrate some of the techniques that are unique to the tanbūr, and you will be hearing shortly thereafter the grandmaster in play himself. And the purpose of what I'm about to show you is to give you an appreciation of the things that you will be hearing and seeing, and I think by observing those subtleties, hopefully you'll have a better appreciation of the musicality that's about to come. So the tanbūr's dimensions were defined very precisely by Ostad. This is a principal aspect of the exhibition that demonstrated that. And there are several techniques that he brought to bear. One principal aspect of what Ostad did was the usage of all fingers. And so in addition to the usage of the left hand, which is common to most instruments, the right hand is active at all times, and there are multiple techniques that are used. One technique that he innovated is called the shore, which is the continuous plucking of the strings with one hand, and that is something like this. Another innovation that he added was the polyphonic effect that prior to this was not present, and that's by adding a third string to the instrument. And that allows us to have a repertoire of dissonance and polyphonic sounds that is, again, unique. And this is something that would be like this. And this allows, again, a certain state of dissonance that is very entrancing as you listen to it. And even the way the instrument is strummed is slightly different in that there are times where you want to have a very hard strum, where we're using the sound of the board, and other times you barely touch the board at all. And these are happening at all times, subtle differences of probably millimeters of playing. And again, these are in evidence as you listen to Dr. Shahrokh playing. And the last part that I think is really personal to me is the fact that the tanbūr is special compared to a lot of instruments, and that a lot is played after the note ends. And that's something like this. So a lot of the subtleties of the tanbūr is when you think the piece is finished. And this is where I could almost always hear the sound of the grandmaster compared to the avid or amateur. It's in the subtle endings and how the multiple notes that are played right before the note ends. And I urge you to pay attention to this as you listen to Dr. Shahrokh play in a second. Once Ostad had established the structural modifications that were capable of producing the sounds he wanted to elicit, Ostad then innovated new playing techniques that for the first time used all 5 fingers. One of the most interesting innovations that he brought, and perhaps one of the things that you should really pay attention to in the gallery, is the use of the invention of a new instrument altogether that essentially marries the tanbūr and the ancient sitar, and that's the 5-string tanbūr. To our knowledge, he's the only one who has played this, and it requires a very interesting blend of classical Persian instrument playing as well as the tanbūr. As far as the repertoire, Ostad significantly expanded the limited and somewhat rudimentary repertoire of the tanbūr, an oral tradition that has been passed down from generation to generation for centuries. Using this limited repertoire as a platform, he composed and assembled over 100 short and long pieces, each of which in turn serve as the cornerstone of his improvisations that render his music truly inimitable. And yet, for all his virtuosity, Ostad mostly played alone, and occasionally within the intimate circle of his family and close friends, a testament to the fact that he conceived of music as a personal pathway to a higher dimension within each one of us. Ostad used to say, if used for the right intention, music can connect us to the divine, for music is related to the soul, and the soul is related to the source. As more and more people discover the music of Ostad, and by extension his innovative philosophy in which it is grounded, I hope that it opens a window into their deeper selves, and illuminates the inevitable journey toward greater meaning and self-knowledge. At this point, it is my pleasure and privilege to briefly introduce my uncle and mentor, Dr. Shahrokh Elahi. An ophthalmic surgeon by profession who completed his medical studies in France, Shahrokh Elahi is the youngest son of Ostad Elahi. Though he began to explore the tanbūr at the age of 9, relatively late, it wasn't until the age of 12 that his father told him one day that he would personally teach him how to play the instrument. What followed was a transmission of a musical art that Shahrokh Elahi himself describes as an osmotic process. For the past 50 years, he has devoted himself to the art of tanbūr, and in turn has faithfully imparted this precious knowledge to several students, including his sons, and members of his own family. As a result of his invaluable efforts, Ostad's singular art form will be preserved for at least a generation, if not for posterity. It should be noted that Shahrokh Elahi also does not consider himself a musician, nor does he perform in concerts. His participation in tonight's program is in honor of his father's legacy at the Met and represents the fulfillment of his duty to share the musical heritage he has been entrusted with by Ostad. During the course of his tanbūr rendition, his hand movements will be projected on the screen behind so that you can witness the playing style and technique that Ostad brought to the art of tanbūr while listening to one of his compositions. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome Dr. Shahrokh Elahi. We want to have enough time for the music. So just before we begin, we spoke about this, and I'm going to ask on behalf of all of us for Dr. Shahrokh to explain a little bit about the piece he's about to play, and I will do some live translation. I apologize, I'm not a professional translator, but I'll do my best. He will be speaking in French, and I'll translate, I hope, in English.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Je vais jouer ce soir un morceau qui s'appelle Shahrokh Elahi.
Good evening. Tonight we will be playing a piece called Shahrokh Elahi
Avec ses dérivés.
and its derivatives.
L'origine de cet air, comme bon nombre des suites du répertoire du tambour laissé par Ostad Elahi, reste inconnue.
The origin of this piece, as well as many of the suites composed by Ostad Elahi, are unknown, in fact.
Mais il est considéré comme faisant partie de la catégorie des airs antiques.
It is considered among the melodies of antiquity.
Et compte tenu de l'absence de toute trace de ces airs avant Ostad Elahi, tout laisse à penser que Ostad Elahi lui-même était en quelque sorte le compositeur originel de tous ces airs-là.
But given the absence of any record of such music, one is led to believe that he himself was the primary composer of many of these pieces.
Et dans son humilité, il intitulait souvent ces morceaux en l'honneur des personnalités spirituelles, dont Hossein.
And out of humility, he often attributed many of these melodies to spiritual personalities, and in this case, Hossein.
Grande figure du mysticisme oriental, d'où le nom de Shahrokh Elahi, c'est roi Hossein.
A towering figure of the mystical tradition, and thus the name Shahrokh Elahi.
Mais l'esprit de cette musique relate plutôt le dialogue intime entre une âme amoureuse, un dialogue sincère, simple, avec son bien-être.
But the main theme of this song, of this melody, is a dialogue between the soul and his beloved.
I don't know about you, but I feel like I've been on a musical journey to many different places. And I'm so appreciative that we were able to hear this and that this was shared with us this evening, because I really feel like it's a gift. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It's a rare and moving performance of the tanbūr. At this point in the program, we are going to segue into a more eclectic mix of novel arrangements and interpretations inspired directly by Ostad Elahi's music. These compositions will be rendered by the Garcia-Fons Ensemble, led by the renowned French double bassist Renaud Garcia-Fons, a prolific and performer and composer who is also known as the Paganini of the double bass, and you'll see why in a moment. Transcending the technical limitations of the instruments in favor of greater freedom of improvisation, Garcia-Fons has spent years at the crossroads of jazz, traditional, and contemporary music. In time, he added a fifth string to his double bass to enhance its technical possibilities and expand the range of his improvisations. In tonight's performance, the ensemble will combine the use of classical instruments like the Western classical instruments like the double bass, the theorbo, the big arch lute, and the violin, and they'll combine this with traditional Eastern instruments such as the tanbūr, the kamanche, and the daf. This is going to demonstrate that their inherent complementary nature. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to welcome the Renaud Garcia-Fons and his ensemble.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's such pleasure and honor to be here today to participate in such event and concert about Ostad Elahi's music. So tonight, we would like to pay tribute to this music in playing some arrangement and compositions that evoke a little bit this music. And for listening, after listening this music of Ostad for many, many years, my feeling as musician is that it's kind like a flowing river of music and a flowing river of inspiration. And I guess that for any musician, any maybe composer, whatever music style they play, they can be inspired by that music. So we will begin in duet with Claire Antonini on theorbo by a suite of different melodies that evokes, of course, melodies of Ostad Elahi. And as I like to do, we'll play and you will hear an alternation of contemporary meditative moments, preludes, and also more rhythmical and joyous dances. Thank you. Thank you very much. And for this second part, we would like to welcome Mr. Dara Afraz on percussion. And Emmanuel Doing on violin. With this second part, we would like to focus on the rhythmic aspect of Ostad Elahi's music. And we'll play two different compositions. The first one is based on a 12-beat rhythm. Tum tak tak, tum tak, tum tak tak. This rhythm is quite uncommon in the West, but it was frequently used by Ostad with his tanbūr. So this is the first piece, and the second one is based on a traditional Kurdish rhythm, which evokes the pacing of the camel, Reng e Shotor. Originally, this rhythm is played with a dol, which is a big drum, bass drum, played with sticks. And but now we have a beautiful daf with Mr. Afraz to play with rhythm. So this is Ostad play. Thank you very much. For this final part, third part, final part, we would like to welcome Ebby Elahi on tanbūr. Welcome to Amir Malek on Kamanche. Along with Nikki Elahi. And Polia Forhani on percussion also. So in this final part, we will hear the tanbūr in a new environment, in an ensemble, in an orchestra with Western instrument and also, of course, Eastern instrument. And set to composition of Ostad Elahi composition or evocation repertoire, we'll play, well, two pieces, and in the middle you'll have a punctuation of DAF solo, sequence DAF solo percussion. Thank you. thank you very much, and like to thank you all the technical team to make this concert possible. So we play just a short piece. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is the conclusion of our evening. I want to thank all the participants. It was fabulous. And to you, the audience, who are so appreciative, and we thank you for being here. I hope you go up and see the exhibition and come back and visit the museum again. Thank you so much.